presentation with insightful information. I'm sure many of our guests here find it very inspiring and very informative. So I hope that we can take action and support your activities and your work for the struggle for the Rohingya and for the people in Burma.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, our second guest speaker is Mr. Ben Rogers. He is the East Asian team leader of the Christian Solidarity Worldwide, and he's been struggling alongside with us for human rights, democracy, and freedom in Burma for many years. And he has written lots of articles, and he has done lots of interviews about Burma, and he has visited Burma for many times, and he has written books about Burma as well. And he today will tell us about his trip to one of the refugee camps in Bangladesh and what he saw there, and would like to share what his experience with us. So please welcome Ben Rogers.
Well, Zoya, thank you very, very much, firstly, for that really kind introduction, and a huge thank you to you and to Burma Campaign for hosting this evening and for all the work you've put into helping organise it. I'd also like to thank BROUK very much for all your hard work in organising this and in, I think, arranging some food for afterwards. And so really grateful to you for that. And Tung Khin, thank you very, very much for the presentation you just made. In many ways, I'm not sure I can really add to what Tung Khin has said, because Tung Khin has firstly spoken in such detail and with such excellent information, and also, of course, he's talking from personal experience about his own people. All I want to do is just complement what Tung Khin has shared by sharing with you some of the findings I found from my trip to the Bangladesh-Burma border. Just before I do, though, Zoya mentioned books, and I'm kind of celebrating this evening because I have today finished a biography of the man who is causing the suffering of these people and all the people of Burma, the Senior General Phan. And when I get home for tonight, assuming there's no one from the embassy here to stop me getting home, I'm going to deliver the manuscript to the publishers. So I can't think of a better way to celebrate the relief of finishing that than being with you this evening. Tung Khin has described the different kinds of abuses and violations that the Rohingya people are facing, and I will touch on some of them, although Tung Khin has already shared a lot. But in some ways this image speaks for itself and sums up the message that we want to share with you tonight about the plight of the Rohingya people inside Burma, but also the Rohingya refugees in Bangladesh who are living in desperate conditions, many of them. And this was a baby that I saw on my visit to... I actually visited 3 different camps, and 2 of which were completely unregistered and unofficial camps, and the conditions, particularly in those places, were dire, of malnutrition, of lack of healthcare, lack of access to education. I'll come back to some of those points. The one Rohingya who I met on this trip summed up their situation by saying that we are a people at the brink of extermination. And that's the quote, actually, that we use at the top of our report on the visit. And there are copies of both that report and also an article that I wrote available at the back of the room. The other thing I think is also important to say by way of introduction is that when I went to the Bangladesh border, and I've been now to all of the borders of Burma apart from the Laos border, and one day I'd like to get there, but you know, all the people of Burma, as those from Burma here tonight will testify, all the people of Burma are suffering, all the people of Burma are facing human rights violations and injustice and oppression at the hands of this regime. And Burma as a whole is still not getting the attention that it deserves from the international community. The attention, I think, has increased over recent years, but it is still not getting the attention it needs. And all of the border areas and the ethnic peoples face that apathy, that ignorance from the rest of the world, and feel forgotten. But I think when you look at the different borders, you know, the Thai border, compared to some of the other borders, has more visitors, more NGOs, more journalists, more human rights organizations, and it still needs more, and it needs much more attention. But they do receive more. But as you go round, the borders get progressively more neglected. And I found this on the India and China borders. And when I went to the Bangladesh border, what I was told was that although there are NGOs working in the camps, very few international human rights organizations or media have been to visit that border. And also nobody, they said, from the Burmese international democracy movement has been to visit that border. And that's something I would like to encourage Burmese friends here tonight to consider ways in which your representatives internationally who are able to travel might consider going to this border as well. This evening is about the Rohingya, but I want to put this trip in context because I just want to emphasize that in addition to visiting the Rohingya camps and talking to the Rohingya people, I also talked to Rakhine people, and I think it's important to emphasize this. I made a point of meeting Rakhine monks who had taken part in the Saffron Revolution and hearing their first-hand accounts of the events of September 2007. One of the monks that I met, and this is an aside, but I think it's worth emphasizing, he had taken part in the march past Aung San Suu Kyi's home in University Avenue when she came to the gate of her house. Another monk told me that he had had to hide in a bush by a lake for an entire night, and another monk had hidden in a water tank for an entire night. And so I met these monks, and the message, by telling you this, I think the message hopefully will be clear that this is about all the people of Burma. Tonight is about the Rohingya people, and we want to focus on them. But these issues affect all the people of Burma. I met other Rakhine who had been involved in the referendum and in campaigning at huge risk to themselves for a no vote, and they shared information with me about that experience in Rakhine State. And most importantly, and this is the link back to the Rohingyas, I met several defectors from the Nasaka border security force. And these were Rakhine, not exactly soldiers, but military personnel in the border security force under the control of the SPDC. And when I met them, they confirmed to me, and these are Rakhine defectors, they confirmed to me everything that Tung Khin has just described and everything that I had heard on that visit. And they did so without any prompting from me. So they said to me without any prompting from me that they had been under specific orders by the Burmese military to extort money and livestock and forced labour, particularly from the Rohingyas. Obviously extortion and forced labour happen throughout the country, but it seems that in this particular area they are targeting Rohingyas. He actually didn't use the word Rohingya, he said we were ordered to target Muslims, but he was referring to the Rohingya people. And that was a clear admission that the Rohingyas are targeted in that area. He said to me, I didn't want to torture and beat Muslim people, but I was ordered to do so. He then did feel remorse and said, I feel very sorry for what I did. I feel happier now that I have escaped.